going to jump right into it. All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Wide Open, the podcast. I'm Tony Gonzalez, and we're doing something special today. We are joined by three female guests, three badass female guests, movers and shakers from their industries. And I'm actually looking forward to this conversation because I know two of them very well, Tracy Perlman and Constance Schwartz, who is my... What do we call you, Con? I don't even know what to call you. Manager? Consigliere? My ball buster?
That sounds right.
My truth sayer. And so is Tracy. And Kim Pegula. I want to get a little brief backstory. And then before, too, I want to make sure you gals know that if you have questions for each other, jump in. I want to make this as conversational as possible. So if you hear something or want to chime in about something, please do that. But we'll start with you, Con. Backstory, where you grew up, all that type of environment growing up.
All that fun stuff. So I grew up in Yonkers, New York, YO for life, as I like to say.
Yonkers.
Single mom, only child. Skipped my senior year of high school because I was going to Catholic high school, which, yes, a Schwartz in Catholic high school. Sister Ann was going through the homeroom list going, all the Irish names, and then she got to Schwartz. So at that moment, I think was the first time I realized that I was different because I never thought about Jewish and Christian and, you're in a Catholic high school. And I was like, So that was probably at 14 when I just kind of went, okay, like this isn't going to just be an easy time here. And not for any other reason than because my name was different. But I did skip my senior year because my mom was paying tuition. And I said, if my senior year is going to just be AP classes, I might as well go to college a year early. So good and the bad of that was I started school early because I was smart enough to do it, but then I was a little immature and I almost failed out of college, which I don't think a lot of people know that.
You almost failed.
I almost failed. Yeah, academic warning right out of the gate.
Because of grades? Because of grades. Because you're not going to class?
Didn't go to class, was on my own. It wasn't even partying. High school was so easy to me that when I got to college, and there were classes I wasn't interested in because I just always... Things came easy, and I was like, I'm not going to care about statistics or science and chemical engineering, and there are classes they forced you to take, and I didn't want to.
It's still that way, though. I mean, with the undergraduate.
Yeah, I think they should change that a lot. I mean, why aren't you learning how to write a resume, how to get a job? I mean, back then there was no internet, so it's a lot different, but I just, was bored. It was when I figured out what my major was going to be, that was when I really applied myself and made Dean's List and fixed everything. But yeah.
Oh, okay. And you, Trace?
So Con and I have been friends for a very long time, and now that I hear her backstory, I am also a Perlman who went to Catholic school. So, which is funny. But I grew up in Queens, New York, and my family is very tight-knit, very close. My dad, hardworking. I feel like my whole life was about making sure that everything I did made him proud. And when I got to college, I was into football because of my dad. And I went to St. Francis Prep High School. Vince Lombardi went to St. Francis Prep High School. I went to Hofstra. I was on the dance team, went to every football game, and my dad and mom came to every game to watch me. But during that time, I started to work with the football team. And I started to figure out, this is something I really like, I care about, I love sports. And I just felt like I fell into it because to me, it was always about, what more can I do? How can I get better? And the more I looked at what I was doing, I was like, you know what? This is the direction I want to go. So during my senior year of college, I went to an interview at the NFL from a blind resume. I walk in, I go on an interview. They ask me all these questions. Who's the commissioner? They ask me football questions. I go to the next interview, same thing. I walk in the third interview, my cheerleading coach from high school. And she said, if you want this job, we will hold it for you until you graduate. I started at the NFL the day after I graduated from college.
And you've been a lifer.
I am a lifer.
How many years?
Didn't know that.
This is my 28th season going into. Yeah. Yes.
So when I got there, I've been retired, 23. So I met you like your third year.
Yeah. Was it 97 or 96?
No, it was after that. 99 is when I met you.
Okay, so I started in 92 and Con started in 91. Yeah.
Look at you.
Yes.
Look at you.
So I'm a rookie.
Look at you.
Wow, yeah. I'm only like 5 years in the league now. So.
Well, Kim, tell us about your upbringing.
Well, so I did not go to Catholic school, but I married a guy that went to Catholic school. So and I am from New York, so we're all New Yorkers. I'm just on the western side of New York, opposite them. So grew up in Rochester, New York, western New York area. I was adopted by actually parents that were Canadian at the time, and then actually moved down to Rochester. And then I had 2 older brothers, and then they decided to adopt me out of the goodness of their heart, and have been blessed ever since. And grew up in western New York, and then met my husband, and we've been together for 7 years, and worked with him, and we moved our way south, and then we moved our way back to the Buffalo area.
What was your childhood like?
Oh my gosh, my child! You know what? It was really wonderful. Like my parents, like I said, they chose to to adopt me for really no reason. I mean, they had kids of their own, and so it just ideally just had a wonderful upbringing. Had the white picket fence, the White House, the dog, like, the snow. It just ideally, just really, and they had not Catholic, but really instilled a lot of great Christian values.
What kind of? I want to talk all 3 values here, because I believe values are so important. I have 4 children, as you guys know, and bringing them up the right way. I'm always concerned about that.
It is hard.
And talking to successful people, which is what we talk to people on the show. I'm always like, what are those values that were instilled in you from an early age that you think are the most important?
I mean, for me, it was just about, the work ethic, really. It's just about not expecting anything to be given to you. So I remember, like, I felt like, now that I think about it now, I always was an entrepreneur at heart. So, like, it was, I don't know if you guys ever did this, but if our school was selling candy, just a fundraiser, like, I'd be out there pounding the streets. I mean, that was, because I
always
wanted...
eat the candy.
You were one of those. And it would be like, so you could win, like, whatever, it was something that was not, like, worth it at all. But that was the competitor in me. And like I said, just that work ethic that nothing is given to you. And so all those things, they never always just handed things over. So anything that I wanted, to really achieve outside of it, it was like, sure, go ahead, but you do it. And I think that's really, really important, even just today.
Hard work. I mean, definitely hard work, loyalty, and truth. I mean, one of the most important attributes that we look for when we hire people at SMAC is truth, honor, loyalty. Everyone, can you curse on here?
Yeah, you sure.
You know that
shit can.
Okay, that's one of my things. It's
Please go ahead. We're wide open here.
Well, being wide open, but we all fuck up. So my thing is, if you fuck up, or when you fuck up, just tell me so we can fix it. Because when you lie about it, it snowballs and it snowballs and it snowballs.
And you got this from your upbringing, from your mother? Or?
Yeah.
Actually, I got this from my very first boss who hired me at the NFL, Maureen Rosen. So the first lesson she taught me, and I've passed that on. And just support and strength. I mean, those are attributes that I think, came from both my mom and my first boss.
So Tracy, answering that question, but also tie in, like, your hero when you were a kid. Like, who's somebody that helped you?
Look, my dad, and Con knows this, everything. Like, everything to me, he taught me integrity. He taught me family first. He taught me hard work will get you where you want to go. And he was always the person that I looked to for everything. I'm old. I'm not going to say how old. My car broke down in New Jersey, and I called my 76-year-old father to pick me up instead of Jeff. And everybody's like, what are you doing? And I said, well, that's who I call. Like, my dad is everything to me. And like I said to you before, I was a dancer growing up. My dad was at every single thing that I ever did in my life. He videotaped everything, and he shows up everywhere I am. And to this day, at 84 years old, if I need something done, I will call him and accidentally tell him something is broken in my apartment. I will come home, and Jeff will say, I think your dad was here because the window's fixed.
You're kidding me.
No, honestly.
And
so to me, that's my hero. But I feel like anybody who meets him feels that way about him. And when I talk about integrity, I have never met a person in my life who will always tell you the truth. And sometimes it's the hard truth, but he will always tell you the truth. And that, to me, is everything.
And we're going to get in that a little bit about hiring, because all you are in position to hire people. And the whole truth. Like, because there is a fine line between telling somebody the truth and also without killing their spirit.
Yes, agreed.
But before we get to that point, I want to, so you guys had this great upbringing, obviously these values. What, I guess, Kim, when you went into the workforce, did you always know that you could be successful? Like, where did that confidence come from, knowing that, okay, I got this?
You know
or
what?
did you not have that? Is that something you had to work towards?
No, I always had it. And I don't know why, and I think it's very much, I know that nowadays, self-confidence has been a big issue especially with young girls. But my parents, I think I got it from them, like instilled a sense of confidence in whatever I was doing. So I always had that confidence of succeeding. And as example I gave earlier, where I was always just kind of a natural born competitor. So I think when you're a competitor, like, failing isn't something you think about. Like, you're constantly thinking you're going to succeed. I mean, that's what you do. So I think that's kind of just part of it is just inbred, and then having the support of parents who always believed in whatever. Didn't always agree, but just always like allowed you to have those dreams. Yeah.
I call that flexibility within the rules. I don't know, but that's just kind of one thing I try with my kids. I know, here's the line, and you can go outside the line once in a while, but if you do too much, then I got to come down.
But I think we've talked about this before. I mean, it's also like part of it is genetics, and part of it is just how you look at things. Because, I look at kids today, a lot of these millennials, and I'm not generalizing, but, poor me. It's like, no, you can choose to play the victim, or you can choose to be a survivor. Like, look, my upbringing, I dealt with mental illness. My dad was one of the first people diagnosed with being manic depressive. And I just said, I'm never going to depend on somebody ever again. Now, maybe I've taken it a little too far, and at 50, I've now had to really, I mean, you guys know this. I've now, for me, I've had to learn how to start depending on people. That's harder for me. But you can decide, do you want to be a victim? Do you want to be a survivor? So it's that's where I have to I think find patience now is for the people that are just sort of what do I do? Get it together. Get it together,
What advice, Tracy, would you give to yourself? I mean, because I already know it sounds like because your dad and this great woman, so you had the confidence. Am I right by saying that?
Yes, you are. But I think the advice I would give is to listen.
To yourself now. What's something you wish you would have done a little more?
But also, when you're having a conversation, really listen. You've got a lot going through your brain when you're talking to somebody. You've also got a lot going through your brain that you need yourself to understand. And I think a lot of times when you are put in a situation with executives or your team, or you just keep going and you're not paying attention to your surroundings and you're not listening. And I think it took me a really long time to realize I may have ideas of the way to do things and how to get things done, but there are other people who have ideas. And when you're building a team, you really have to listen. And you also have to take a step back and say, you know what, I have enough confidence in myself that this isn't about how much I'm doing. It's about building all of these people around me who are going to make the biggest impact. And I would say when I first started doing this, and Con knows me for a long time and so do you, I would tell you what we were going to do. There was no in between.
That's true.
And seriously, it literally, and until somebody said to me, you know what, you would do a lot better if you listened to that voice in your head and to other people. And I would say over the past, 10 years, that's the tack that I took. And I think I would be in a different place if I had taken it earlier. But I really think that you have to listen to other people, because the people you surround yourself with are the people you want to be around. So they're going to bring value to the conversation or to whatever it is you're doing.
Okay. So going into the prospective worlds, male-dominated, obviously NFL. That's got to be, is this scary? Were you guys intimidated at all being in this male-dominated industry? Especially back when you guys were starting out. I mean, that was...
I'm the rookie, remember?
You're the rookie. But still, even still now, I mean, when you show up at ownership meetings, it's mostly men. I know there's 11 female owners now, or is that what it is? But still
we're gaining, Adam.
But still being in a male-dominated arena, how do you conduct yourself? Do you have to conduct yourself differently? Do you feel like is there a chip on your shoulder, or is it just business as usual?
I mean, personally for me, I don't think I need to go out and prove it. But I do. But I would say, when you get the ownership and, people, they vote you in, and then you just start. I mean, there's no, so all of a sudden you're just in the room with all these personalities, with all this history of families that you've heard about, and as a fan, as a spectator, all just sitting in the room. But I think you realize, they're kind of just like everybody else, they really are. I mean, yes, some of the stories are true, and maybe they're bigger than life, some of them, but the reality of it is that, they're a human being, and you're a human being, and you just all love the same game. And so I think that helps settle you a little bit, and then you kind of just go about doing your work. And so.
Did you guys feel like you had to be held to a different standard coming up through the ranks?
I didn't feel that way, and I say this all the time when people say to me, was it hard? It wasn't hard. You had to know your stuff. And when I walk into a room, the expectation is I know as much as everybody else, and for me, the expectation is I'm going to go in there and I'm going to know more. And I'm going to know about the game on the field, and I'm going to know about the game off the field, and I'm going to know what the player needs, and I'm going to know how to make an impact. And I feel like the passion you show, people can feel it in the room, and it doesn't matter who's in the room. It can be, an owner, a player, a man, a woman. It doesn't matter because that's what has helped me get ahead at the NFL. People know I care about it, and people know I know what to do and how to handle it.
Con?
I mean, for me, starting out, it was a little different because I ended up getting cut off at every time I thought I was going to get promoted because they would bring a guy in over me that I would have to train to do his job, and I was getting paid a lot less money. And you had to swallow the bitter pill a lot, and because I knew that was where I wanted to be. I knew that was my future, and I just sucked it up. But yeah, I had a chip, but that chip is also what drives me today. Like, that was the battery in my back. It was like, it wasn't about proving myself that I had to be smarter or better. It was more like, okay, suck it up because I know I'm smarter, and I just have to stay on my path and not let these people take me off my path.
So when you're dealing with that, because you were at the NFL and then you went into management, right?
Correct.
That's where you went to the firm after?
Well, I took a quick pit stop at a record label and then went to the firm where I ended up managing Snoop.
Okay, and so dealing with...
So I went from athletes to rappers.
Which sounds like a headache to me. But we were talking about it before coming on.
Or not? I don't know.
Could you imagine dealing with all these... and you do it. You obviously...
I did the entertainment for a long time.
Well, dealing with just even NFL personalities and a lot of babies out there.
Correct.
A lot of people, prima donnas.
Yes.
Not me, of course.
Not
right?
you.
Never you.
Never.
But you're dealing with these big personalities, and maybe am I overblowing this too or anything like that? I just feel like, wow, like what patience you have to have, and so for anybody out there who's looking to go into a position of management, what advice do you give to dealing with egos? How do you deal with people's egos?
Patience.
A lot of it. And the facts. I mean, I get a lot of, how come not me? And I say, well, you played 4 years. This is what benefits you've earned. Oh, by the way, you didn't sign up for these 4. And here are the things we can do for you. All of this other stuff you're asking me about, we'll get back to that. But can you sign up for the free dental plan? What I try to do is kind of bring them back to, hey, there are 20,000 former players out there. Let's have a conversation about what everybody's doing. And look, there's a lot of guys that you're never going to get off the NFL owes me. Nobody's taking care of me. And I feel like that expectation, and this goes back to, as the athletes have changed over time, the expectation becomes very much, well, what are you doing for me? What are you doing for me? And I think from the league office, we are here to serve you. And we are going to tell you that, and we're going to have a very straight conversation with you. And I'm always going to be transparent, and I'm going to tell you what I know. And if you're going to come at me, I can only do so much.
Yeah. Kim, do you go ahead if you want.
No, I was going to say, if I put on my owner's hat, some of those big egos and personality, that's what makes them good at the game, right? So there is that fine line of when you're dealing with those types of personalities, you think, okay, you remember like this is where, but then there's times when they do cross the line with that, and that's where just like I said, setting those expectations, and I think surrounding them with other. Whether it's even in your office or whether it's on the team or in the coaching staff, surrounding them with the right people that kind of can balance that balancing act of wanting that personality, because you want that guy to make the big play. Like you can't have someone who's quiet and says yes all the time, making big plays, but surrounding them with the right support system, I think really does help, because it's just and. Different people react to different people, so how they act with you may not be how they act with somebody else. And just understanding there's whole bunch of issues that they all deal with, just like the human part of whether you're an owner or you're a player. There's so many issues out there that I'm not even aware of some of our players go through, and sometimes I like to remind myself of that sometimes, like, yep, there's issues going on as well, so, but.
Do you guys believe in luck? Or is it hustle, luck?
I definitely believe in luck.
I don't know if I'd call it luck. I always believe in something bigger than me. And sometimes I think it's luck, sometimes I think it's faith. I don't know. But I believe there's something because sometimes things happen and you're like, I don't even know how that happened. So I feel like you have to believe in something. Why, do you believe in luck?
No, I believe in a little bit, yeah. But I believe you bring that luck to you.
To yourself.
Like through positive thinking, through a higher power or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, how about that? I love this question. Higher power, do you guys believe in, you grew up in Catholic schools, and that's kind of what I guess luck is. What's your higher power? Like, what does that mean to you? Is it Go ahead, Con.
Well, I mean, for me, it's interesting because I grew up, even though I went to Catholic high school, my mom is very Greek Orthodox, and that's like Catholicism on steroids. And the only time I go to the Greek church now is unfortunately for a funeral because I just can't relate to that. But I really have just been searching for, what is that spiritualism I can find. And believe it or not, through Deion Sanders, his best friend, who he's talked to you about, is a pastor named, Bishop Omar. And he's amazing, and he's somebody that I've actually loved talking to. So to me, it's not about like what religion you're choosing, but it's about who can just help you find that faith and spiritualism and just truly living the best life you can live. Like, none of us are perfect, but how can you just strive to make the right choices and make others feel, good and better and make yourself a better person.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I always say higher power. It doesn't mean just like going to a religious religion. I'm talking about yoga. I'm talking about going walks on the beach. Do you have any practices like that?
I do, like, for a day. So that's my issue. Like, I have a lot of good intentions. Whether I'm going to start breathing, whether I'm going to do the Headspace app, and I very much really enjoy learning about all those things. Putting them into practice consistently maybe is my fault. But yes, no, I do feel that there is a higher power, if that's what you want to call it, a belief that I think just benefits our civilization. Like, without it, depending on what it is that you believe in, without it, I think we would be in a lot of trouble. And so I'm glad that I have something to believe in, as well as many other people, in whichever way that they find that to help them.
I think balance is a key higher power for all of us, which it seems like all four of us at this table, I don't think do a good enough job of. You're much better at it than all of us.
Well, I don't work as hard as you guys. Okay, I just get to do this. After Super Bowl, I'm done. Going relaxing, going on vacation. Switching back to the positions that you guys are in to hire people. What do you look for when you guys are looking for employees? All right, whoever wants to take this one. Like, what are some key, values, ingredients, personality traits that you're looking at when you hire somebody?
Well, it's interesting because in doing what I do now, working in football operations, which is very much about the game and the players, you need to have someone who, yes, you need to know the game, you need to understand it, but I find in what I do, you also need to have a lot of empathy. And you really need to have an understanding of how to deal with different personalities. And remembering that the player on the other side, he's fighting for his job every day. So when you're talking about it, when we interview people for the role in this job, we need to make sure that they understand that they're in a service role, and that they can really connect with people on a personal level, and they really have an open communication skills. And we hire a lot of former players to work for us as well, and it's really, you have to be very smart about who you're hiring, because we need guys who are willing and ready to talk to a younger player and mentor a younger player. At the same time, they may be talking to their hero at some point and trying to give them direction. So you're really looking for people who can serve, people who have empathy for other people, and people who want to be part of what you're doing. Because if we don't have a team that's going to work together, if we have somebody who wants it to be about them and what they can get done, it's not going to work. So we take people through a pretty stringent process to get them in. And sometimes you're interviewing with a former player sitting on the other side of the table from you. And it can be very daunting, but you also can see the people who rise up to it.
Con, give me opposite of that. Not what you're looking for. What are you not? What's somebody that comes in there and you're like, oh, hell no. Like this right away is not going to work. But
9 to 5.
What will turn you off right away?
9 to 5.
When somebody says, I just want to work 9 to 5?
I mean, not even if they say it like that, but when they're like, what are the hours? It was like, when
so that question out there, do not ask that question. What are the hours? That's a legitimate question.
No, but
I'm
just saying, that's not, I don't mean it like that, but it's just, when you're in this space of sports and entertainment, we're not 9 to 5. We're not 5 days a week. We're 7 days a week. It just is what it is. And like we make up for it in our pay and our benefits, our vacation. Like it's a balance. Like I don't expect somebody to come in and they're not going to get paid, $22,000 a year with no overtime and 2 weeks vacation and that's it. Like you're going to work weekends, you're going to get free days off. Like I make sure, and like even though we're a small company, like we're not anywhere near as big as you guys, but we do have a 401k plan. We have retirement plans. Like we make sure, even though we say we're tiny, but we're mighty, because I always just picture myself like I'm glad I started as an assistant a very long time ago, because I'll never forget sitting in that seat and what the NFL provided to me. I want to make sure that whether you're an entry-level person or the Taya man who came in at a senior level running our scripted department, I want to make sure everybody feels good about giving to the company like they own a piece of it. So it's important. Yeah. And then just one little tidbit, when people are going on a job interview, throw out your garbage. That's one thing I always look for, because it just, you know what? If you're careless like that, just even if you don't see a garbage, just say, oh, where should I throw this out? Because that shows to me you're going to follow through on your job, on your tasks.
Oh, you mean actual trash?
Yes.
Okay.
You always give somebody a bottle of water.
Yeah.
Yes. And when somebody just gets up and leaves it in there, I'm like, they're not going to follow
Really?
up.
Okay. I thought you were being like metaphorical.
No.
Throw out your garbage, like really
they
get it all
on
off your
table.
chest or whatever.
And that's somebody that's not going to follow through. Like, look, in our offices, we're small offices. Like, we own our offices. Like, we're not in a big corporate building like these guys are. We do the dishes. I do the dishes myself. Like, there's no job too big or too small. Like, those are the things I'm looking for. Like, yes, my assistant might go get me a green tea, but you know what? I'm going to go get them a green tea too. So, like, there's just no job too big or too small. Like, that's the mentality that I'm always looking for.
And with partnerships with you, like, is that what you're looking for when because you have other businesses besides this?
No, we do, but I mean, I totally agree with Constance because, because I always say, I wouldn't ask someone to do something that I wouldn't do myself. Now, granted, most of the time I don't have to do it myself, but I can tell you, like, you can go through any of our staff and who will say, oh yeah, I saw Kim emptying out the garbage, or I saw her picking this up, or I saw her getting coffee for everybody. Like, I just think that is such a great trait to have, because there's no job that is like, even if it's 9 to 5, it's sports entertainment. There's just so many variables that happen, and the person that can be so versatile and be willing to lend a hand, even if they're not the expert there, that's what teams need. That's
teams
really
need.
that's
that.
To be a team. That's what you have to be. So when we're dealing with partners, with sponsors, with working with other companies per se, what I'm looking for is really about, do they understand who we are as an organization? Every club, every organization is different, right? We all have different reasonings, different finances, different locations, or whatever it is. And the company that we want to partner with is someone that really understands that. It's not the one that wants to make us into something that they think we should be, or or try to help us become something we shouldn't be, or give us all this flashy ideas. Like, no, this is the core value of what we are. This is what we're proud of. This is what we want to make sure that we stay true to. So I think those are things that we look for when any kind of partner or team or other club.
We always say you win as a team and you lose as a team. So if you're not playing your position, the team's going to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to say one thing about Kim. So I was doing an interview for the Sports Business Journal, and they said, who's a woman in sports you want to meet? And I fangirled, and I said it was Kim. And so fast forward, we were developing a documentary, and one of the topics was Kim. And so I reached out to someone that works at her organization, and they, told Kim about it, and she was like, absolutely. So we go up to Buffalo, and we meet Kim, and she was everything and then some of what we imagined. And what she's talking about, she's being very modest. She will drive herself to the game right? And she gets in an Uber, like, and the woman that picks her up didn't know it was her. And she was like, you kind of have to follow the state troopers because I have to, like, get to the game this way. And this woman picks her up in an Uber X, like in a minivan. And the woman then figured it out and was like, oh my God. And, like, they're telling us about it.
And then I had to walk like half a mile because the road was blocked. So the Uber couldn't actually come to my apartment. So I had to, like, walk the half hour because there was some kind of marathon.
Come on, you go Uber X, okay? You can go premium, okay?
Right. But these are the stories. And then when they were building out the, what's it called? Right around the stadium. I don't want to say the wrong sponsor. Your whole entertainment area.
The downtown, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Harbor Center?
Yes.
Yeah.
But she wanted to know, like, what the right cookies were. So she walked in the rain in New York City to get to the bakery to go get the right cookies.
Details.
Like, she could have sent somebody.
Yeah.
But she goes herself to Levon's Bakery.
Yeah.
Send her cookies, everybody. She's
I
the
know.
biggest
She loves
supporter.
cookies. Switching a little bit to, I love the bounce back. And something that's a common theme, I think to everybody, anybody out there listening, and if you haven't, it's coming, you're going to go through like a shit time, okay, or a bomb.
We're going to.
Yeah.
Hello.
We have actors that have come on here and they're like, oh, I bombed an audition, me as a sports guy, I dropped 16 balls my second year, led the NFL and dropped passes. Like, what is your, and you don't have to go too detailed, but your rock bottom and how did you get out of that? Because you were at the NFL, Con, and then you got out of there. I mean, for whatever reason. Was there a specific reason because you felt like you couldn't grow anymore, or did something happen, or what was your reason for doing that?
Honestly, I had a great opportunity that came my way, going into the music business. I mean, and they doubled my salary. It was literally like, take everything that you learned here at the NFL, create this department. I mean, look, I had the best experience at the NFL. Like, I tell people all the time, there is no MBA program that would have taught me what I learned at the NFL. And for those of you that know SMAC Entertainment, the 3 verticals are exactly what the NFL taught me. It was, the management, the production side of the business, the branding, the business development. Like, that's who we are. I mean, that's why if you look at, like, what we're building with you, what we're building with Michael Strahan, what we're building with Erin Andrews. I mean, hell, what we did with Snoop Dogg, we're doing Wiz Khalifa now. It's the blending of all of it. And it wasn't like I left because I was over it. I just got a much better opportunity, So for me now to be able to come back and be able to call up, like cold call, Kim Pegula and say, hey, I'm, putting together a documentary that I want to take and pitch to HBO Sports. And not only do they take my call, but they see us, like that to me is like not just a compliment to me, obviously, but to the NFL because they were my teachers. Like, I'm their students. Like, I'm a student of the NFL. Like, I'm not a student of Harvard, right? And then just the fact that not only is Tracy, like, personally my best friend, but from a business perspective, I can call her, even though it's not her department, I'll be like, hey, can you navigate and guide me through this process? Because I don't know everybody there anymore, and just even Commissioner Goodell, who I consider a personal friend and a mentor and a guide to this day. So I loved it there. It was time to go. Uh-huh. But to get back to where you're saying, a couple rock bottoms and bounce backs. Freshman year of college, thinking I was the shit because I skipped senior high school and being on academic warning and almost failing out. But then you know what? Majored in marketing and made Dean's List the rest of my career and was president of the American Marketing Association and geeked out, as my friend said, so there's your bounce back. And then when I left to start, right before I started my own company, it was because I got fired. And I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, where do I go now? And there wasn't a company that understood what I learned from the NFL. They wanted to pigeonhole me and say, well, you're a great manager. You're a reality TV producer. You're great in branding and sponsorship. I was like, no, it's all of it. So that's how SMAC was born.
Uh-huh. Great.
I think it worked out.
It worked out. It's worked out well for me. I know that.
Yeah.
Any
I would probably say, because I think it is very important that people realize, even people in our position, that we do have those bad days. I mean, I think it's very important that people realize. They think that, we're all living this great, glamorous high life, and there was, like you said, yes, there was a lot of hard work and, like you said, rock bottoms. I think actually for me it was actually more recent. So we had a big void in our leaderships. We had our president leave, our CEO leave. So had a lot of big changes of people that have been there a long time. So there was a lot of cultural, unease among our organizations. My daughter was going through a hard time. My son wasn't doing well at school, and I just remember I was like, to my husband, I was like, I can't do anything wrong. Like, this is all going. And, and just felt like there was nothing I couldn't do. There wasn't anything I could do. That's the helplessness feeling. Like, that's, but I think what really, really helped, though, is just being able to say it, to just get it off your chest. And like, thankfully my husband, because he was like, I'm not normally like that. I don't even think he knew I think he was scared. I was like, oh my gosh, she's like, what am I going to do? Like, if she's breaking down, like, all hell's going to break loose. So, but it's just
everybody together.
Yeah, and so I think just allowing just to say, what things are not good. Like, just the realization and acceptance that, like, it is not perfect. I think that really helped. And then it's like, okay, now I can get back to work. Get it to work and get back. And realizing, like, we're still here. We're okay. You think everything is going to, it's going to be a disaster, and you realize you have the strength in you and you can do it. And I really realized so I didn't replace those people. And what I ended up doing is I took on their roles as team president, which I was like, okay, I wasn't sure if I gave myself a promotion or a demotion. I was like, okay, wait a second. But what I really learned from that is really allowed myself to truly understand what it means to be an owner. Yeah. Like I said before, you just get voted in, here you go, and there is no rule book, there's nothing. And what you think you've seen on the outside, and you have these people that are in place and you think they're doing a great job, and yes, a lot of them are, but as an owner, you truly don't get to take ownership of your team. And I think that has allowed me to say, like, how do my husband and I, how do our family, how do we want to shape this organization and this team for our generation? Yeah. And not the previous owner, who they only had one previous owner before. So that's very hard to break through and to try to find our own identity. So I'm still on that journey, but I think it's been such a positive because I had the breakdown, a few years ago, and all the mistrials and things that I thought were disasters at that time, I think are now, like, in the future, it's going to be so much better.
Yeah, and that's usually what it is. It's always like, okay, those dark times, or whatever you want to call it, that's where you grow the most.
I mean, I think, and Constance knows this, there was a point where I was stuck. I was in a role, I was the vice president, and I was stuck. And I was doing the same thing all the time, and it became tedious, and it didn't feel like I had mobility anywhere. And I felt like I hit a ceiling, and I don't know if I put it on myself or what it was. And the commissioner called me because there was a job open as the head of events, and I didn't interview for it. And he called me, and when you see Roger Goodell on your phone in your office, you're like, oh, this can't be good. And so I went to his office, and he literally said to me, why did you not interview for this job? And he put me on the spot, and I had to answer. And I said, well, I don't want that job. And he said, well, what job do you want? And without even thinking, I said, I want to be in charge of all player communications, everything for the Legends, because I don't think anybody is taking care of the players, and we really need to take care of the guys who are this game. And he said, but that doesn't exist. And I said, I know, but you asked me, and if I could have anything at the NFL, that is what I would want. And so now I'm in a position where I said this to him, the job doesn't exist, so now I have to go back and do the job I'm doing, and I'm kind of stuck. And about 10 months later, Troy Vincent calls me, and he said, you know the job you talked to the commissioner about? What if I was going to create it, and I think it's your job? And now he said, but you have to give up all of the entertainment and all of these things you've been doing that have made you so comfortable for so long. Yeah. And I had hip replacement surgery, so I wasn't even in the office when this was going on. And I'm calling Constance, and I'm talking to Jeff, and I'm talking to my parents, and I literally had to take 24 hours and get back to Troy. And when I called him back, I actually called him back with a plan for the department and said, if you allow me to handle player communications and make sure we're talking to the players the right way, handle Legends benefits, opportunities, Legends community, handle brand marketing, all of this stuff to build, I'm in. Yeah. And these people need to go with me. Yeah. And he said, it's yours. And I literally stopped booking Super Bowl halftime, stopped all the movies. In 24 hours, my entire trajectory at the NFL changed. Wow. And when I tell you how much happier I am,
you still have to work on a few things with me, though.
Yeah. I do.
But what a great lesson there, though, right? Yes. I mean, like, am I right about this? This is like where you go through that. I talk about going through that fear of the unknown, but realizing that if you can do that, it's so much better on the other side of that.
And I think you know how much happier I am. I mean, when I talk to you about this stuff, it feels so good to me. And I also get to talk to you about total wellness and yoga and things that are actually part of what I do every day now.
Yeah. You still do tell me that this is your last Super Bowl. Every Super Bowl, Tracy, I talk to her, hey, Tracy, how's it going down there? It's my last one. I'm done. Every year.
Listen, all of you all-time teamers, by the way, congratulations for being on the all-time team. It has been, I have to tell you though, thinking about being in the room with 100 of the greatest players of all time, to me, that is the pinnacle of what I could do at the NFL. And I'm just so proud to be able to be there with you and all of the guys that mean so much to the game.
That'd be great. But I want to make sure that it's not lost in the audience here about what you just said, all three of you. Like, if you can just go through those times, and I don't know, it sounded like you guys take deep breaths. I don't know if you go to that higher power, you call your loved ones.
The beach. The beach is a big thing for me.
Beach is a big thing for you.
Breathing. A lot of breathing.
Breathing. How do you weigh the pros and cons? Because that's a huge decision. I mean, how do you weigh the pros and cons to say, okay, I'm going to do this?
You got to talk to whoever, whether it's your, boyfriend, husband, your trusted advisor, whoever it is, you got to talk it out. I'm big on lists. I like to write things out. Like I make lists, pros and cons. But you also have to know that the sun's going to come up the next day no matter what. And I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier. Like life's about choices. So you can choose to, survive. You can choose to take what life gives you and learn from it and grow. I mean, whenever you're in that dark time, it's like you can just decide to stay under those covers, or you can decide to get up and say, all right, let's go. So you just have to know that.
Do you guys beat yourself up? Are you guys hard on yourself? How's the voice in your head? Is it a friendly voice? Is it a critical voice?
I would say that critical for me.
It's critical.
Yes, but that's why I started doing Bikram yoga. And for those of you who know me, I stare at myself for 90 minutes in a mirror in 110-degree heat every single day. And you learn to become very patient, and you learn to start to look at yourself in a different way. And I would say I was very critical. I never took any time for myself until I started to look at myself in the mirror and say, you know what, you're much stronger than you're giving yourself credit for.
I love that.
And it's hard to do it. And sometimes I look at myself in that mirror and I feel like I'm going backwards, but I'm still standing there. And I have to do something. And Con knows I am there every single day, no matter how I feel.
I love that.
No, I'm so proud of Tracy because she literally, nope, I have to go. I'm going to yoga. She finally found that balance and started making time for herself and making a priority there. So, I actually need to get better about that. You've got to remind me of that.
Are you pretty, so in your head, Kim, are you?
I'm actually pretty positive. I'm always a very half glasses, half full kind of person. So whatever, there's a lot of encouragement. In my head is a lot of encouragement. Even if I'm feeling lazy or I don't want to do something, I always gravitate towards the positive, okay, you can do it. Come on, let's go. So I don't know why. It's just, that's the way I've always, the voice in my head has always been that way, thankfully.
And Kim, I have to tell you, since you took ownership of the Bills, I feel like that's the voice of the Bills. In working with the team, it feels so different. And I think I sent an email to Troy to tell him how amazing it's been working with your team. I just feel like everything around the Bills is positive. And you don't always get that when you're working with teams. And now that you say that, I know where it's coming from.
Well, and you made the playoffs.
Yes. Winning does help a lot. It does cover up a lot of issues.
But you turned the team. No, but you know what? We should take a second and acknowledge that because you turned the team around.
Well,
you know what? It's the people that you in. So I do the thing that I would say our husband and I is trying to really, and we don't always get it right, but trying to identify the right people for us. Like we talked about what kind of partners, what kind of companies we want to work with. This is like I feel like in Sean and in Brandon, our coach and GM, we've really found people that are who we are as people as well, and I think they've also been able to permeate throughout the building and the organization, and like you said, it's showing up. So
it's all culture. It's all culture.
Absolutely.
People are like, why are the New England Patriots so good? And I'm like, whether you agree with the culture or not, but there's something going on there that they got a secret sauce.
Consistent message that everyone knows. I agree.
I love it. What does the NFL hold for women for the future? What's that look like?
it's interesting. Working for Troy Vincent, he is all about inclusion. And if you look at his leadership under Troy, I am SVP that handles players and legends. Donna Ponte is an SVP handling officiating and football administration. Natara is an SVP handling business operations. So to me, again, this is back to the right people in the jobs who know what to do. It shouldn't matter. And I feel like Troy is one of the leaders in that space where there are a lot of women that are coming up through the ranks, and I feel it, and you can see it. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, no, I do, but I think that all starts at the more grassroots. So I think when they see women in higher positions, SVPs at the league, at clubs, it allows the younger generations that, when they're in college and trying to figure out what they want to do, maybe, several years ago, football, even though they love football, maybe that wasn't, they never just thought of that because they didn't know anybody in football or things, something like that. So I think that's been a really great positive about the league, that not only are they preaching it, but they're showing it, and that has is allowed. But like you said, because still at the end of the day, you've got to have the right people with the right skill set, and whatever you're from or color or background, that's really important. It really is. And so the more people we can get from a diverse background and give them the right skills and having the opportunity and showing it to the rest of the world, I think that's going to be really helpful. So I think we're on a lot of work to do, but I think we're on a good path.
Nice. Anything to add or?
I think it's great too. Just I'm totally having a brain freeze, but the coach for the 49ers, KD.
I've seen her in the commercials.
Yes, the Microsoft Sours, right?
Yeah.
I think, that to me is a huge step for the NFL.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of that.
So we had, we just had a coach. Her name was Callie. Can't forget her last name. Callie. Callie. Yes, I know you did. But she just got hired from the Cleveland Browns, so we were going to keep her on for another year. Except she got an offer from the Cleveland Browns in a promotional role, and I was like, "Great, Callie." I mean, we would hate to lose you. I know the coaching staff really wanted you back, but that's what we want,
what it's
right?
about.
Yeah,
Like,
for
that's
her
what
to
it's
move
about.
up, because it's great that there were barriers broken,
right.
But what's the next step? And that, it was so great to see her get that next step, and I think that's what it's all about.
I love this, and it's pioneers like you guys that are bringing the game to that level. So thank you for that, because this wasn't around in '97. It was so rare.
It was.
But now it's becoming so much more common that you're seeing
you
it.
have a daughter, right?
Yeah, 2 daughters. Yeah,
So you have 2 daughters. So that's what I think. A lot of now we've been able to kind of, our coach has a daughter as well, and so I think a lot of times, and a lot of our players have daughters. So now it's a little bit easier to kind of pass that on, because now they're like, okay, wait, that's my daughter now. I want her to have that job, or I want her to be involved in football. So I think that helps a lot too.
Nice. All right, guys, we're going to switch now to some more, rituals. What do you, I'm a big person of sleep, and obviously we're here at the Sleep Number and Sleep Performance Center at Radio Row. And I have a Sleep 360 bed here. There's one right in my house. It looks just like this one here. But I'm big into sleep because it's so important. Are you guys sleepers? Do you get your right amount of sleep? Are you guys understanding the importance of it?
I understand the importance of it. I have a Sleep Number bed, and I was actually just saying, traveling so much, it's so hard because I know the difference between the beds. And it's so hard when you're on the road, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not the right, this needs to be a harder here, and I need the warmth on my feet, and I think it's helping me now, but I would say I just started to really focus on it more because to me, it was, okay, what am I doing next? Not when am I slowing down? And I think as part of the yoga and all the things that I'm doing, I'm starting to figure out, hey, you know what? I need a little bit more. I'm definitely getting older, and the bed is amazing. And when I travel, I need to do better.
Do you get enough sleep?
No.
No. Do you know the importance of sleep?
I understand. Here's the thing.
It's a game changer.
I understand the importance of it. And I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I only slept 4 hours last night. I'm not that person. I'm like, I only slept 4 hours last night. I can go to sleep, no problem, but I'll wake up, whether it's to pee or whatever, and the brain wakes up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is Tony's Matera deal done? Oh my God. And then it's just like, it goes and it goes and it goes. Like, that's it.
Do you sleep well?
You know what? I go on and off. I go in spurts. So I'm a big fan of technology. So I'm like a biohacker. I love reading about biohacking.
Yeah.
So all those things. And so like the Oura Ring was like, I had that on religiously every night. I'd be tracking, like my REM sleep and all this stuff. And I just, I do love it. Now, whether or not I actually like force myself to say, okay, you need more sleep. No, but I love learning about it. Like I said, usually it goes in spurts. I find my life always goes in spurts. I get really busy, like I have no time for anything. Then I'm like, okay, then I get into something else, and then I relax, and then it all starts over again. So consistency is my problem.
Yeah.
I just not good, but I do know the value of it.
It's so important. I'm just telling you, you should look into it.
What's
Hire
your
a sleep
tips?
coach.
You hired a sleep
Not
coach?
drinking. You can. There's sleep coaches out there now. It's
So
becoming
why
a
don't
thing.
you do that for me?
You want a sleep coach?
Yes.
I'll get you a sleep coach.
Okay.
Stop
And
drinking
a sleep number bed.
caffeine. You can use it. By the way, technology, the bed, the 360 bed, has an app that can track your sleep too and tell you how many
that
times
would
you
just
woke up.
depress me more.
It actually, that's
No, it'll help
sometimes,
you. It'll help you, trust me.
sometimes it scares me. Like I'll look at it and it'll be like, you woke up 14 times. I'm like, oh my
know, that's
God,
the thing. I don't
what
need
is
to
stressing me
tell-
out right
Right.
now?
But what sleep does for you, it clears your body. It helps you rejuvenate. It
Yeah.
helps you think clearer. It helps you in a better
Agreed.
mood. It helps you lose weight. I mean, there's so
What are
many
you saying?
benefits.
You looked at me when you
Not
said
that you guys are in shape. Well, moving on from that.
Yeah,
So
smart.
what is? I know you do yoga. You're
Every
a Bikram
day.
yoga. You already talked about that. You do any type of? What's your exercise regime?
I was doing yoga, but I just found out it was hurting my back, so I had to
Oh.
take
Yeah, we
a
just
break
talked
from
about
it.
that,
I know
yeah.
we did just talk about it. So I'm finding what my next yoga is. So right now it's the arc trainer, and we're looking at the infrared sauna, like you.
sauna. Love that.
Yep.
It's a good-
That's what I do. I do the infrared sauna. Yeah, that's my yoga. It's like my hot yoga without actually having to do the exercise. I just sit there and sweat in there. But
It's a free workout. You just sit there and you're getting
it
a workout.
does.
Your
I
heart
put
rate
it.
gets up.
Mine has Netflix in it, right? So I can
wow.
really.
Okay, come on, Kim.
I would never leave
Oh,
that.
it does. It does. Yes.
I might not. I might
yeah.
never leave.
But I will say, No,
Oh, man,
we put in a whole new training center, sports performance center, we call it, at the Bills, and really that's what it's all about. Because realizing our players, just like us, whether it's we have sleep pods, we've got floating pools, we've got cryotherapy chambers, we've got red light,
red light
beds.
therapy, all this
Yeah,
stuff
we
too,
got
so-
infrared saunas. Like we've got all that stuff because we're realizing this. The importance is not just our own health, but like our players' health too. And that's not just like lifting weights anymore or nutrition.
Absolutely.
It's a whole sleeping and getting enough, and especially the traveling and all that. So the stress that they put on. So and I think that's across the league. All the clubs are really putting a much bigger emphasis on those types of healing to get preventative and just recovery for our
See,
players.
Tony, you would have been able to play for 25 years.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
No way. What about cold showers? You ever do any of that? You said you do any of that?
I do the cryotherapy, which is
Cryotherapy? That'll help you sleep better.
Yes,
Come on,
it
if you
does.
do like a cold shower in the morning, huh?
Oh, in the morning? The last 30 seconds.
Last 30
I'll do
seconds.
it.
Have you been doing it?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried that?
I do it after yoga. Imagine being in a 110-degree room.
Then you go there.
And then you go in there, and they tell you to do cold before you get to warmer.
And all this stuff is designed to be the best you. That's why I always
Yes.
talk about it. I'm obsessed with it.
Yes.
It's not because I just want to look
No.
great. It is like you said.
And if you put a cold pack on your back of your neck, that also helps your natural thyroid if you need more energy.
I do love that
Boom.
one. And the infrared mat. I have the same one you have. I forgot
Oh,
the
do you?
brand. I don't know if
I
it's the
do.
Beamer
Something
or
like
not.
that. Yeah, I forgot.
Earthlight. I don't know what it's called, but it's amazing. Like I'll just even prop a pillow up and just the sunrise is like over the marina, and I just do that like when I wake up at the crack of dawn, worrying about you, and just watch the sunrise and lay on that infrared mat, and you're like, oh, so.
Meditation too. Do you guys meditate? Have you guys tried that?
I
I
try.
tried the headspace. I tried.
I try.
I highly recommend getting into that. I always tell all the listeners out there, look into meditation. It's so
I've
key
tried.
for
How do you get
de-stressing
into it?
yourself.
How do you get into it slowly? Because I've tried classes.
The meditation apps.
I've tried.
To hire a meditation coach. You can actually go to learn how to meditate.
Actually, I'm
it
going to
just
give you
takes
a
practice.
there's a Spotify playlist I'm going to send you that
Okay.
I've been working, like when I lay on the mat, I started playing this like meditation playlist.
Okay.
And it's just starting to like level me out a little bit.
And just walking too. Just go for a walk in your neighborhood. I know you live in New York City though. I don't know how pretty that is, but it's nice to get out in my neighborhood where I can see some trees and just walk and put on some good music. Like you said, a nice playlist that's calming, soothing. Don't get on your phone and just really reflect. And let go of stuff.
I love going to the movies. I literally go to the movies by myself. I'm not like that person that's like over in the corner by themselves, like with no one around. That's sometimes I just love to be, just forget about things and just relax and enjoy and laugh or cry or whatever the movie is doing. I love kung fu movies. I love like martial arts movies, which I probably gets me more hyper than it does calm me down. But
it's about being alone there, I would think. I would say that's about just getting away from everybody.
Just doing something, if you want to call it frivolous, but just doing something that you just really enjoy and you just get enjoyment out of for no other reason.
Yeah. You guys, a lot of. Well, we'll get into these final questions. Maybe it'll come up in here. Perfect. There it is. Your last meal on Earth. What would it be?
My mother's eggplant parmesan.
That was quick.
100 times over. That's it. 100 times over.
Any dessert with that?
No.
No.
I would eat the whole tray. Just so that you know.
And who would you share it with?
My sister.
Your sister?
Yeah.
You? What was your last meal, and who would you share it with?
Okay, Beyond Meat breakfast sausage and
No. Really?
to start, and then the entire
you gotta go.
the entire menu at Bellatos.
What is that, a restaurant?
Emilio Bellatos in New York City. It's my favorite
That's good.
restaurant.
I gotta go. Shout out to Emilio Bellato. We gotta go there.
Do they
And
need
who
to
would
be
you
dead? Can they be dead?
Yeah, sure.
My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, who was 100, she died at 103, and I just didn't know enough to ask her all the questions like I wanted to ask her. Like she was just like the trailblazer of our family.
Great.
And Condoleezza Rice.
And Condoleezza Rice. You can choose two. Usually I say three people you'd share the meal with, but it's fine. Go ahead.
I'd probably say pizza. It's like it just hits every group. It just it's. I mean, I don't think I've had kind of a bad pizza, but I don't think I've ever actually had like a really bad pizza. It's just good anywhere you have it. So that's probably be my last meal, and then probably my family. I think I'll just share with my family.
Nobody in
was
history?
my last meal.
What about somebody who's not alive?
Oh, somebody who's
I'm gonna ask you that, Tracy. Who would you eat with? Just one person. Who would it be?
I don't know.
Throughout history.
I know, that's why.
Anybody. It can be made up too.
Me.
You can say Yoda.
No, Yoda. No, I really have to think about it. Somebody who's not alive. It would be my grandfather. It would be my grandfather. Who talks broken English, so the conversation would be in half Italian and half
great.
English.
That sounds fun. Eating eggplant parmesan.
I think it's really sentimental here. Is I probably would, actually, I don't know if she's dead or not, but it might be like my maternal mother that I don't know. Interesting.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I just thought when you said that, I was like, you know what? That's probably somebody. She might be alive. I don't know, but or passed away. But yeah, that might be an interesting just to know. I don't know if that would. I don't think that would be just because she wasn't in my life, so I would probably say it's not my person I would want to share my last meal with, but certainly someone would be interesting if.
Sit down and talk to you.
Yeah.
Are you morning or night people? Morning, Tracy?
Morning.
Morning.
Oh, night people.
Night.
Oh, no,
That's
night.
my wife. My wife is, I can't stand it.
Yeah. What time do you go to bed?
I try to, if it was up to me, I'd go to bed around 9:30.
9:30?
9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
But her, she's dead weight.
Yeah.
So she makes me stay up late. Like 11 o'clock. But you can go all night. You like to...
I probably don't go to bed before midnight at least.
Really?
Yeah. I just feel like and I don't know if it's a male-female thing, but I'm so used to you're working all day, but then at night you still have things you have to do, right? Like laundry, pick up, clean up. There's just so by the time my night it's already 11 o'clock, and I'm like, it's already 11,
Yeah.
And so then I want to unwind, so then I want to watch TV, so the next thing I know, it's like after midnight.
Superpower.
Night person.
What would be yours if you could have any superpower?
Going back in time.
Going back in time? Really?
Yeah.
Like, okay. Where would you go? Where's first top?
I think I would just change things for the better. I think
you mean
that,
because of that? Okay,
yeah,
you want to change
I think
history.
I would want to change history on some things that I just thought, especially with my family, that were things that should have been different.
Okay. All right. Superpower? Fly? X-ray vision?
I wouldn't want
Strongest
to
person
reading your minds.
Yeah, reading people's minds.
I definitely don't want to read people's minds either.
Any superpower? Good. Nothing? Come on, you play the game, Con.
Okay. I would want to be Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
I would want all of her superpowers. I want the plane. I want the wrists.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I want her
Lasso?
the lasso
Lasso.
and a headband.
Okay.
All of it.
Okay. Anything? Kim?
No, probably for me it would be what's the X-Men? What's the blue girl that could like go from one place to another? Kind of like going back in time, but like I could be here. The next thing I know, I'm like 100 miles away.
Yeah.
What is
Like
that?
a looper.
But I want to be able to do it in an instant. Like I'm over here, then I'm over there. Like I just show up. But saves me a lot of time.
There it is. Okay. Yeah, it was like Star Trek or something like
Yeah, I
that, kind of
can't
like Beam Me Up Scotty type deal. Or,
Yeah, I can't remember
but through
which
time.
which
The one Rebecca Romaine. She was.
Right, yeah. I think
I
she
don't
could just
remember the name
disappear
of
and then
it.
appear somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Yeah.
What,
I don't remember
what-
either.
What power that
I don't know
actually
what
is.
it's called either.
Yeah.
But yeah, going from here to there. Okay.
Yes.
Favorite book?
My
Like
favorite.
for all the people out there, what's a book you're like, you got to read this book? It's gonna. I don't know. Do you have any books that changed your life or books that you
There's a
highly
funny
recommend?
book I read. Well, not just funny, but Sheila Nevins, who oversaw the documentaries at HBO, wrote a book called "You Don't Look Your Age" and other like tales people tell you. It was
Con, you're so
phenomenal.
real. You know, he's like, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I like it.
I'm sorry. Well, no, but it
Well,
was
that's the type of book you would like.
That was
right?
the type of book. But I also, I've got this book for Hawaii, which I'm going to very soon. Desmond Tutu wrote Finding Joy. I think it's called Finding Joy.
Yeah.
Right? You would know.
I think it's The Art of Joy. He
The
wrote
Art
it
of
with,
Joy.
with the Dalai Lama.
With the Dalai
Desmond
Lama,
Tutu,
The Art
and,
of Joy.
I think
Yeah.
it was just them too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good book.
Yeah, my friend
I read
Jamie
it.
gave it to me because
great
I think
book.
she needs to find joy.
Find some joy. We all need to find some joy.
So I will find joy on the beach.
Yeah.
I'm reading all these yoga books. And
Yoga?
it's a weird, just because for me, I got so into the yoga before I knew anything about it. And so now I'm almost going backwards. And I'm reading I'm reading the Bikram Red book, and I'm reading Bent, and I'm reading like all of these books about what all of this does to you physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And I went into it without knowing any of that.
Yeah.
And now when you read it, I'm doing the yoga, and I'm like,
Yeah.
which is really
Enlightening, yeah.
interesting because it's so enlightening. And the book, like some of these books are very dense because when you're doing all of this stuff, you don't realize, okay, you're doing the standing forehead to knee pose and it does this for your thyroid and this for your kidney and this for your, and going into it, I knew none of that stuff. So now I'm almost going backwards, but it's actually helping me in my practice. And to me, I feel like that's meditative.
Yeah.
So
I love that about Tracy because when I first got into the NFL, I think you would crush seven sodas, diet sodas a day. You've changed your whole life around.
yes, from a conversation with you.
I don't know if it was a conversation with me, but
Yes, we had a conversation at Constance's birthday party, and you gave me a whole speech about the soda.
yeah, give it a soda. I'm not a big soda fan. But looking at you, like
I
where
know.
you were and where you come from a health perspective, it's night and day. It's
Yes,
night and day. And you look
100%.
great.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Tom.
any books that you recommend to people
you know
out there?
what? So there is, I think it's a podcaster. I'm not sure what he is. Tim Ferriss.
Yeah,
he's
Tim
written.
Ferriss, yeah.
Yes, he's wrote several books, but he wrote one. I think Tribe of Mentors. I think
Yeah,
it
Tribe of
is.
Mentors, yeah.
And so I just love reading it because it's really about people that you would names and that you recognize.
Yeah.
And just sometimes you think like, look at that successful person. Like he must have had to do all this, and sometimes it's just little things that
Yeah.
you can always learn from somebody else, and you think, well, how I don't relate to that guy up there, but sometimes you do. And
You
so this
do,
book
yeah.
was really great because I just love reading about all the different people and names you recognize and the little things they did to to improve themselves and how they got. And some of it is just very practical stuff that you didn't know you had that in common
Yeah.
with somebody else. So
I love that book.
yeah.
Highly
it
recommend
was
that
a
book
good
too.
Yeah.
It's a great one. I think he's got two of them. He's got a bunch of
He-
great
he
books.
does.
Love Tim Ferriss. All right, final question. What's one area of your life that you'd like to improve in that you're wide open to learning more about? Let me be quick.
Well, one area of my life, I think, going back to being able to spend time on me, but one area of my life I'd like to improve is just more time with the people that I care about the most. Because Constance will be in New York and we can't connect. Like, we need to figure out a way to do that. And I just feel like, for me, I need to take a step back and realize what's most important, because it shouldn't be my job. And it should be the people around me that I care about the most. It should be seeing my niece. It should be making sure that when I come home at night, Jeff and I can have a conversation and I don't want to pass out.
Yeah.
And I feel like I need to learn more about myself and where I can do that and how I can learn how to take that step back. I feel like I've taken a small step with the yoga, but there is absolutely no reason why when Constance is in New York, I can't find time to get together with her. And that is totally on me.
Nice. Cool.
I mean, same theme, balance and sleep. I mean, I echo the same thing. When I wake up at 5:30, the first thing I should be doing is not getting on my computer or my phone. Everything can wait. Like, it should be going not even driving to the gym. It should be going downstairs to our gym in our house. Like, there's no excuse. But I get completely caught up in all the emails and the vortex of BS, and I've got to, like, literally stop, because not answering someone's email for that extra hour, the world's not going to end.
Yeah.
I think, echoing the same thing as the balance part of it. But I think, like, for me, I've specified it to, I want to learn more about how I become more efficient, right? And so that I have more time to do the things that they talked about, spend time with others. But I want to learn about my brain. So that's kind of my new thing about, like, nootropics and about what is it, neurofeedbacks and things that you can do, even memories. I started, which I haven't started, but really understanding about how to remember things. Like, there's some guy out there that can remember, like, amazing amount of information within
Quick.
a few seconds. I'm like,
Quick.
how do you do that? So Jim Quick. That's who I was.
Jim Quick.
That's why I was.
Yes,
I signed up for his course, but I haven't, like, quite finished it. But I just, like, I think that's amazing, the power of the brain and what it can do. So that's the end result of finding enough time. But to get there, I feel like I want to learn about how I can make my brain work better and remember more things and become more efficient, so that I can have time for all this other stuff.
Nice. Ladies, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank
that was
you.
outstanding.
Thank you.
Have fun at the Super Bowl.
Thank you.
It was fun. So.